Hola, ¿qué tal? And welcome to episode Diecisiete, 17. And the topic this week is, before you moved from the US to Spain, do you wish that you blank? Filling in the blanks. And so to kick this off, if you're not part of my Instagram community over at Go and Do Good, be sure to follow along. That's where all these questions come in from so that I can answer your question there as well. You may see in the corner over here a Feliz Cumpleaños sign. I am one of those lucky parents who has an early January son's birthday. And so we go from one festivity to another. And so Happy New Year. If you are new to my channel, I'm a Move to Spain coach, and I help American families who are considering a move, especially with elementary age kids, to move from the US to Spain. So connect below and check out my course, as well as a call that we could schedule to talk about your individual situation. But if I was moving from the US to Spain, which I did, would I consider, or do I wish I... This will just be a short little video today as I address 8 of the questions that came in. Do I wish that I had done this before we moved? Now, I have got a lot more content on this if you look through some past videos of things that I'm glad I did, things I didn't think I needed to have done when we moved. So make sure you review past videos as well. The first question is, do you wish that you had learned to drive manual? Such a good one. So especially in Europe, majority of rental or lease cars are manual. You can definitely find them in automatic too, but I would say it's about a $200 or euro per month upcharge. And so I am really bad at driving manual. Logan has tried to teach me to save $200 a month. He can drive manual. So when we go to a different country in Europe on vacation, he rents a car for the weekend and gets manual, so we save money that way. Now, the car subscription that we have here in Madrid, because we do need a car as our kids go to school in Tres Cantos, about 15 minutes north of us, we share one car. I've shared this in a previous episode. Our car subscription costs around $600 a month, which includes the service and insurance, but that's for automatic. So we'd pay closer to $400 a month if it was manual. And so the answer is yes, I wish I had learned manual before we moved to Spain. The next question is, do you wish that you better understood taxes in Spain? This was a question that came in from someone else through a different forum. And the answer is heck yes. And so you will see me repeat this throughout all of my episodes. The most important thing that you need to do as an American before you consider any kind of move to Spain is fully understand what your tax implication will be. We had gotten bad advice from our first tax lawyer here in Spain who said, oh, you're eligible for the Beckham law because you're US business owners living in Spain. So you'll only have to pay a flat 24% tax. So we were thrilled. Then we found out that the Beckham law does not apply to American business owners. It only applies to those that are Americans working for an EU company. And so because of this, we could be looking at up to 37%. We'll let you know as our first tax bill comes in, which will be a very exciting day in June for our family. And so yes, please, there's a link below to a tax specialist. Be sure you know before you move to Spain what your tax implications will be, because honestly, it will make or break your decision of how long you'll live in Spain. So great one. The next one is, do you wish that the visa process or just the kind of the selection process of visas was clearer to understand? And the answer for me on this one is no. I think it's actually pretty laid out well on the BLS website, which I'll link here as well. This is kind of how you can see for certain visa types what the requirements are and how to start collecting them and the time periods associated with them. I've shared this, but we were able to get our first round of visas for a family of 4 within 6 weeks of visiting Spain, and we were already living in Spain on the volunteer visa. And so the volunteer visa specifically is easier in that student visa section to get on your own. The digital nomad visa was one that we did need a lawyer for, and I partnered with Pro Spain Consulting that I've linked below. So I do think that it is clear and it's understandable what the next steps are. I also can understand why people might need a lawyer in it. Now, I will be honest, as someone who's currently waiting on changing our visa approval status back to volunteer visa from digital nomad, which is a whole nother episode for another time. I wish that the process in Spain was faster. I wish there was a better way to check the status updates. And I wish that it didn't take so dang long. But besides that, I think the process is pretty straightforward and it's able to understand from an American standpoint. And so I don't think that's been an issue. Someone asked in a different forum, do you wish that you had sold your house? And I love this question. I've shared this before, but we own a farmhouse in Greenville, South Carolina. It's our beloved farmhouse on 3 acres in a beautiful area of Simpsonville, South Carolina. We do not know what our long or short-term plans are at this point. We are kind of just living year to year and doing what is best that the Lord has placed on our hearts, what is best for our boys for schooling, what is best for my husband for work. And so we have already rented our house for 2 renting periods, so almost 2 school years or 2 years. And so we have just officially decided that we are renting for year 3 again, meaning that we will be living in Spain or Europe, I should say, at least through at least July of 2026. And so we love the renting process. I think for some people it's just a headache, or they don't want the additional to-do, say, with it, and they'd rather just sell. We aren't sure of our long-term plans, and we love having the farm and our family as an option to fall back on when and if we should be moving back to the US. We could eventually be able to move back into our home and do some work on it and get it back where we want it to be. But also it's kind of our modern day 401k. So because my husband doesn't have stock options or 401k now as a US consultant working for a UK company, we kind of use our farmhouse as our long-term investment plan. And so we're sitting in the equity that we have in this farmhouse. And so instead of just selling it, we really like renting. So we don't have a property manager. We're going to be needing to do some touch-up work on that house now in between renters. But for the most part, the renting process has been very streamlined and great with the help of our realtor and other helpers there in Greenville, South Carolina on our team that we call them. And so, no, I do not wish I had understood more about renting, or that I had wished that I had sold our house. I really like renting from afar, even from a different country. All right, the next one is, do you consider, or do you wish that you had considered a different country to live in Europe, not just Spain? Now, this is a great timing one because I am working with a company called Lenciar Global to be a new partner of mine, and they're actually going to help families who have a desire to move to a different country besides just Spain. So as of right now, all of my contacts are people that can help American families who are moving to Spain. This will now help us because what it will do is it will give us a contact of someone who, if you want to move to Switzerland, or you might consider Italy, or I know a family who's moving to Greece, they would be a great contact to help you have a smooth transition in the visa process and the tax process and the setting up apartment process. And so I'm happy to have them on my team. So for me and my family, no, we had done the majority of our world travels in Central and South America. Besides a little stint in Africa, we kind of learned that we love Spanish speaking culture. So Latin American countries, we love the pace of life. We love the family focus. We love that these countries specifically have great food, and they also prioritize family time over work time. They work to live. They do not live to work. And that is something that we really like about Spanish speaking countries in general. And so we did not have interest in living in Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, even though that's English speaking, Costa Rica, because of a couple of reasons. One is the humidity and how hot it gets in those countries. 2 is the size of the bugs, y'all. I don't know if you've been to Central America lately, or South America too. They've got some big old bugs in there in those rainforest jungle areas. And so something I love about Spain is we don't really have to navigate any kind of weird weather, weird bugs. And Spain obviously comes with the advantages of having access to Europe for some pretty incredible travel over here too. And so we do not wish that we had looked into a different country to move. I do have a couple of countries that are on our radar to consider a move if we needed to leave Spain because of oppressive tax problems that we may run into as American business owners. And those 2 countries are Malta and Cyprus. Now, I'm not saying I'm making any kind of move there, but those are countries that are on our radar, and we are visiting Malta in February just to check it out. And so, no, Spain for us has been a wonderful fit. The next question is, this is silly, but I wish that I had known that I couldn't buy certain spices or seasonings. And this is funny, I'm not a big baker, but I know I do have an expat friend here, Paige from Texas, and at fall time, she'll always say, oh, I wish I had, pumpkin spice seasoning or these things for baking. And so there aren't really any seasonings here that I can't find that I wish I had. My husband loves really spicy food, and we've shared before that Spanish food is not necessarily spicy, it's just flavorful. And so I did actually for Christmas find from the Czech Republic, a seasoning like a picante, jalapeno kind of kit, seasoning kit that he now has in his kitchen collection here. But no, there is not really anything or any kitchen item or spices or things that I wish that I had known about before we had moved to Spain. This was an interesting comment, and sometimes you don't know when comments come in if they're serious or if they're baiting or if they're negative or kind of whatever, but just putting this into the atmosphere. This person said, do you wish that you had started a new life and forgot about everything that happened in the US and just staying in the US or anything? And so I just wanted to keep this comment because I wanted to remind everyone that our family is not an American family who bashes having lived in the US or that we might live in the US again. We are proud to be American citizens. We are not renouncing our US citizenship. In fact, we are not interested in becoming Spain residents. We are non-residents here in Spain that live here 183 days in the year, but our businesses and our assets and really everything, our home, is in the US, in addition to our extended family. And so what you won't find on my channel is bashing the US or any kind of negative speak. I do share cultural differences or things that I find interesting over on my Instagram account. But no, we are very proud to be Americans living in Spain. And I will add too that one of the really big advantages of being an American living abroad in general is having a US income abroad. And I get this comment all the time from people, but the truth of the matter is it does give us a leg up to work for or own 3 US small businesses that we get to run from Spain or from Europe. And so while that does come with a hefty tax bracket, it also is a blessing, right? Because we have less expenses here than we would on the farm in South Carolina. We have an amazing cultural immersion experience. Our boys are becoming bilingual. We're getting to live out this dream of living abroad. And so, no, we don't wish away the years that we have lived in the US, and nor do we think we would never return, or are we against them? I think there's a really good balance of always being patriotic and loving your home country, but also loving the Lord's creation and experiencing other cultures. And so the last question, and this is a good one. Do you wish before you had moved from the US to Spain that you had learned more Spanish? And girl, the answer is sí, sí, sí. I have shared this so many times, but our journey, my husband and I, as adults learning Spanish has been difficult, muy difícil para mí, para adultos that would be they are difficult. Está muy difícil. Para mis niños, están aprender en colegio. Eso es muy fácil para them. So just to give you an example of where I'm at, I still can't string together in speech good, clear sentences. I actually can now read Spanish in a very high, like B1 kind of level, and I can comprehend so much more Spanish than I can have before we moved here, I mean. But now I'm working on being more verbal and being more confident to speak this year as I work with Lingoda. And so I just wanted to take this opportunity to share that if you are someone who is considering a move from the US to Spain and you do not have a significant other that speaks Spanish, you need to start learning before you move to Spain. I think if we had thought we would have been in a Spanish-speaking country for longer than just a gap year or a year or two, we would have invested in more language learning before we moved, and maybe when I was even a hair younger. But we are not giving up, and so I am partnering with Lingoda here in 2025, which I'll put the link below. And it's just been a wonderful way for me to continue my work from home, my momming from home, my wifing from home, keeping the house up, walking the dog and things, but doing a lot of lessons with live teachers that help my skills and help me live speak in Spanish in addition to just immersion day to day. And so for this season, it's going really well for me to practice more Espanol just by speaking in this class. And so yes, I wish I had learned more Spanish. For kids and adults, it cannot hurt to learn as much as you possibly can before you move to Spain. And so I am ending this short episode and looking forward to a new year, lots of content. I'm so grateful to have you here. You can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can connect over on Instagram, or if you want to have a call or have access to my course, I'm happy to send it to you. But let me just say this, and I say this on all my course calls and anytime I talk to a family that's considering moving, There are, out of 100% of people, the 99% of people who are thinking about moving never take any action steps for moving abroad. They just talk about it, they dream about it. And so if you are one of those 1% of people who are even watching this video and are taking action steps forward in 2025, I just want to encourage you to keep going, because you just need to take little action steps forward to achieve your goal. That's all we did. There is nothing special about our family. We are not billionaires. We are not walking into an easy situation that was handed to us. It was a lot of work, but it's doable with action steps. And so poco a poco, together we can get this done. So looking forward to the next episode. Ciao, hasta pronto.